Now you can have the discussion on these two topics. We are clubbing these two topics because KP Khalid is not here. On behalf of him, Dr. Sharik Nisar will answer your questions and be on topic. We invite your questions. Before that, I am introducing again Sharik Nisar. He is a PhD holder and he holds PhD in economics with specialization in Islamic finance. Currently, he works as Director, Research and Operations, TASIS. TASIS means Taqwa Advisory and Sharia Investment Solution Private Limited, Bangalore. He also worked as Head and Research and the Development of Islamic Capital Incorporated, Malaysia. He regularly writes in various international journals. He has spoken at number of international conferences, including 7th Harvard University Forum on Islamic Finance on USA 2006 and International Conference on Islamic Banking, New Delhi 2006, and International Conference on Islamic Non-Banking, Kuala Lumpur 2004. Various speeches he done in various international stages, and nowadays we see in Bombay Index സൂചികയിൽ പുതിയൊരു പേര് കൂടെ സംഭാവന ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഇസ്ലാമിക് ശരിയ ബേസ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ഇൻഡെക്സ്, ഒരു സൂചിക 15 ദിവസം മുന്നേ നമുക്ക് കാണാൻ പറ്റും. സാധാരണ ബോംബെ ഇൻഡെക്സ് ഇത് കാണുന്ന ഇവിടെ എക്കണോമിക്സ് സ്റ്റുഡൻസിന് അറിയാം. അതിൽ പല പേരുകളുണ്ട്. അതിൽ TSAയുടെ ടാസിസിൻ്റെ ഡയറക്ടർ കൂടെ അദ്ദേഹം സ്ഥാപിച്ച ഇസ്ലാമിക് ശരീഅത്തിനെ ബേസ് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടുള്ള ഷെയർ വാല്യൂ കാണിക്കുന്ന ഒരു സൂചിക കൂടെ പ്രത്യക്ഷപ്പെട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതിൻ്റെ പിന്നിൽ പ്രവർത്തിച്ച ഫൗണ്ടർ കൂടിയാണ് അദ്ദേഹം എന്നുകൂടെ സൂചിപ്പിക്കുകയാണ്. സോ വി ഇൻവൈറ്റ് യുവർ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ്.
What's the mechanism of personal and consumer loans in Islamic financial system?
You see, loan, first I'll tell you the perspective of loan, qard in Sharia. From Sharia point of view, from giver's perspective, the person who is lending, it is very, very encouraged. Qarz dena or giving loans is highly encouraged from Sharia point of view. On the other hand, taking loans is highly, highly discouraged in Sharia point of view. Unless until you are in really very difficult situation, you are not encouraged to take loan. I'll give you two examples from Sharia. Our Prophet ﷺ, when he went for Miraj, he saw written on the one of the gates of Jannah that reward for qarz is many times more than reward for charity, sadaqat. And he asked Jibril alayhi salam, and Jibril alayhi salam said that the reason is the person, anyone can ask for sadaqah or charity, but those people who really in need, only they will ask for loan. So this is from giver's perspective. From taker's perspective, somebody took loan, and when he died, Prophet ﷺ was called for janaza, and he asked whether this man had borrowed something. People said yes. Could he pay? No. Then better you pray for your brother. So this was so severe discouragement that suddenly people realized from those who had gathered there, and they said, sir, Prophet ﷺ, we are taking the guarantee of payment, please pray for him. Because it was a big signal that Prophet being in those people and not praying for a person who died without paying his debt. So debt is a very essential part of today's life, but today's debt is, because of interest-based system, it has become fashion. People do not look at the capacity because they have got credit card. You pay very small portion because you are now invited in the problem by this system of interest-based. Once you are in their hands, then the problem happens. So we have to look at debt from a very, from Sharia point of view, that unless until it is very, very urgent, a person should avoid to the best of his capacity and to the best of his ability. Now, interest-based system, when it has come in the banking system, because once you pay interest, you get tax advantages. All those people who are aware of the accounting system, they know that profit is calculated only after paying the interest. So the larger amount you have borrowed, larger amount you have paid on tax, then a small amount you are calculating as profit, and then a small taxation you are giving. Right? The same system we are trying to create Islamic banks also. In the same system, because it's now here and there changes that we are trying to make. Even in Islamic banks, there are few things which are common, how that it is financed, and there are few things which are really different. You asked about two things. One is consumer loan and personal finance. Personal finance, most of the product offered by Islamic banks are not really good, in the sense that it should be discouraged. You should not need cash. It should not become a fashion that you are going to a bank asking for cash and paying some amount of fee. But when it comes to consumer finance, like you need some item, for example, you need fridge, cooler, washing machine, all those kind of consumer items. What happens that a commodity money cannot be traded from Islamic point of view. You cannot trade in money. Money itself is a commodity which is special. It cannot be traded. Like, you have grams, you have meters. These all are units of measurement. Money is also units of measurement. You cannot wear money. You cannot eat money. You cannot do anything of money except that it facilitates your transaction, right? So when conventional bank, what it happens, it will give you money and charge more money for that. So it is actually trading in money, giving money less and taking money more. But when it comes to Islamic bank, what it will do, it may charge the same level of profit as the bank has charged, conventional bank has charged, but actually what it will do, it will buy the item and sell the item to you. So it will buy cash item, say 100 rupees, and sell to you 105 rupees. But it is taking the risk of the goods purchased. So it is, cost-wise, it may appear the same, but when it look at the macroeconomic perspective, it is really bank is buying an item and selling an item at higher profit. So this is how consumer finance item is done. So if you want to buy a washing machine, say, which costs about 8,000 rupees, you will go to an Islamic bank. Islamic bank will purchase that machine for you and will sell it back to you on credit at higher price, and that will be the profit for the Islamic bank. So consumer finance is happening like this. Many Islamic banks have come up with Islamic credit card also, but instead of charging interest, of course they cannot charge, so they levy certain annual fee for the card irrespective of the amount that you have utilized during the period. So this way they are trying to manage consumer finance as well as personal finance. I hope it clears.
Assalamu alaikum. Myself Kabir, student of Al Jamia Al Islamia, Shandapuram. I would like to ask one question is that recently, as we know, you have launched Sharia Index 50. Actually, in fact, you investing some particular specified investment companies. In fact, I would like to ask one thing is that can you say is it 100% interest less based investment section? In case if you not, how to justify it?
It's a very good question asked by a student of Al Jamia Al Islamia. You see, we have to see things in perspective. If you ask me, are you 100% Muslim, I'll not be confident. I'll not be in position to guarantee that am I 100% Muslim or not. What happens that suppose we are living in a situation where 100% is not possible, then should we give up, or should we not try 99%? Should we not try 98%? Should we not try 97%? Because being believer, our job is to continuous struggle for the best. We may not reach the level of best, but we must try reaching the best. Now, having said this, let me tell you how it is selected. Throughout the world, I'm talking about all Muslim countries, I'm talking about everywhere in the world, Sharia scholars, fuqaha belonging to all school of thoughts, having researched the market, having researched the whole economic scenario, having researched, observed all the financial system, they have realized that this is one of the best option for investments, this stock market, for small investors. But there are a lot of problems from Sharia point of view. Gambling-like activities happening in the stock market. All companies which are into various kinds of business, including interest, riba, gharar, maisir, alcohol, all kinds of vulgar entertainments are there. So how to help people look at the best of whatever is available, because stock market is like any other market where all kinds of activities are possible. No, when you go to market, you look at your item which is good, because there is a possibility of many other things happening in the market, but that is not good from your perspective, or that is un-Islamic. Similar is the case with the stock market. What happens? There are two types of work that is done to find out which are the stocks that are acceptable. Because taking guarantee of 100%, I am not confident about myself. I cannot take the guarantee of the company also. Because whatever is reported in public domain, only that you know. Whatever they are doing inside the board, you don't know. Right? How the things are reported, that is even, nobody can take the guarantee, like Satyam crisis. Big companies are auditing, and then we came to know many years later that these all were fraud. So within the public domain, whatever information is available, we try to find out that at least the business of the company, main business of the company, must be acceptable from Sharia point of view. And therefore, all companies which are into banking, financial services, insurance, tobacco, gambling, haram food, haram beverages, everything which is un-Islamic is not considered at all. So all the businesses, whether this percentage or that percentage is removed. Now, once that all businesses are removed, then what is left is acceptable from Sharia point of view. Acceptable, the word I'm using, acceptable from Sharia point of view. Steel production, cement production, IT industry, you can name it. But even in this, because of non-availability of Islamic funding options, as and when it needs, they go to bank and get finance. This is one issue. One very serious issue, and this issue is only in India. This issue is across the Muslim world. That companies' business is fine. Companies' business are 100% acceptable within the limitations, but as and when they go and borrow from the banks to finance their operations, maybe working capital or whatever. This is one option. Now, throughout the world, companies are doing that. Now, Sharia scholars, having realized the lack of Islamic funding options and the problems faced, because business is also very important. You can't live without producing steel and cement. So, in that situation, they have, throughout the world, I'm not telling about only India. I'll come to India aspect also. They have said that if they are borrowing in interest from banks, then they cannot borrow beyond 1/3 of their sources. This is what has come. I'm coming to compromise, where the compromises are made in these kind of things. They cannot borrow more than 1/3 of their total capital or total market value of the company. Another very serious issue is that there are a number of companies which are zero debt and whose business is acceptable. It doesn't mean that this is 100% Islamic. Right? Company has zero debt like Infosys. Zero debt, no debt at all. And what company is doing? Producing IT, it is into information technology, IT programs or what those things. Still, what happens? The company is sitting on huge sums of cash which it has put in banks and earning interest. So this is another very important issue that needs to be looked at, that company is in halal business, company has zero borrowing, but because the money that it has put in banks, it is earning certain amount of income. In this case, the formula that is utilized, and you may agree or disagree, that is, it's up to you. I'm here to tell you what is happening on the ground. Sharia scholars have said that at least 95% income has to be pure. At least 95%. If there is a dilution of 5%, up to 5%, it could be 1% also, 2%, 3%, but not beyond 5%. If there is a dilution of 5% up to, you can calculate that portion, and out of your profit, you donate it in charity without intention of sawab. So on this condition, they have allowed that you can invest in those stocks based on this condition, and when you apply those rules, in India what we have done, we are following 97%. At least 97% income has to be pure, and up to 3% if it is diluted, then we provide information and to the public also that you need to donate this much in the charity. So there are certain compromises when it comes to the way business is done. Main business is okay, But the method through which business is done, like companies are borrowing, companies are dealing with banks, in that case there are certain compromises. In most of the countries it is 5%. Here we are taking it at little stringent, 97%. This is the fact of the situation across the globe. Now, if you are getting better option, if you ask me what we should do, my advice to you all is, if you are getting better option, then no need, it is not compulsory to go to stock market. But lakhs of people from our community are already investing without knowing where to invest and how to invest. For them, we have tried to create some benchmark that at least if you are investing, at least invest in this instead of investing in banks and earning haram income. So you need to look at this perspective, that there was a market where was no guidelines, there was no benchmark, there was no screening from Sharia point of view, and that all we are trying to do, so that at least those who are investing, they have some idea that at least something is better than leaving it up to, and ending up investing in all kinds of haram stocks. I hope this clarifies our position.
Sorry, we are stopping here itself because our chief guest have to be.
I'll not take long time, but if some
Okay. One more questions allowed.
yeah, we can take some.
Assalamu alaikum.
We can make it the last and final question, inshallah.
I am Anis Asad from Calicut. My question is, in India, many companies are performing the networking business, just like network insurance, Reliance and all. According to Islamic point of view or according to Sharia point of view, what's the opinion, whether it is acceptable or not acceptable? Networking business.
I didn't get first portion. Which person? Networking. You are talking about MLM, multi-level marketing.
Networking business.
Yeah, you see, there are 2-3, when it comes to muamalat, as I said in my speech very briefly, that a believer's life is divided into two parts from law point of view. One is his relation with the creator, that is ibadat, and another is his relation with the fellow human being or society, that is muamalat. In the matter of ibadat, everything is prohibited except what is prescribed. Everything is considered prohibited, that is by law. So you cannot pray more than 5 times as farz. You cannot pray 5 rakat in Zuhar. You cannot pray 4 rakat in Maghrib. So everything is prescribed as when it comes to ibadat. No, you cannot fast in Shawwal and leave Ramadan. That will not absolve you from the farz. So in the matters of ibadat, everything is prohibited except what is prescribed. Prohibited. Everything is prohibited. Note this. But when it comes to muamalat, things are considered to be permitted except what is prohibited. So in the matters of muamalat, you have to look at only what is prohibited. Other things are mubah. Those who are Sharia scholars, they know it. That here you need to look at, in the matters of muamalat, you need to look at what is prohibited, and in the matters of ibadat, you need to look at what is prescribed. When it comes to muamalat, whether it is MLM or whether it is finance or whether it is anything related to that, first responsibility of a believer is to look at, is there any prohibited element found in it or not. If yes, then we need to avoid it, because that is what is expected from us. Mubah things are large, permissible things are large, we can do within that. When it comes to prohibition, especially in financial matter, 3 things are very important. Riba, as we all know, interest. Gharar is something where some very important element of the contract or trade are hidden or depend on something which is not known. Cheating, right? Inciting someone to purchase something, selling something without telling the qualities of that, selling something without giving full information about the product, buying something without knowing how much price I am going to pay, buying something without telling when I am going to pay. These all things are known as gharar. You can look at those things through internet, but I am coming to MLM thing. When it comes to MLM, a huge amount of gharar is found in that. It is like a chain. People are making chains. Who is going to get how much? It just depends on some members being active or not active. And because of that, MLM falls in the category of doubtful things. You may not get a direct precedent of prohibiting it, but at least there is no doubt that there is a doubt about it. I hope this clarifies.
My name is Mohammed Shafin. I'm from Palakkad. I want to ask you one question regarding Islamic banking. in last few years, all the Americans and Britain banks are, went down. But in Saudi Arabia, they have earned 385 crores of profit by Islamic banking. I heard that. So I want to know what is the difference between this Islamic banking and other banks, including that financial.
385 crore is too small for people, small people like me. So it could be 3085 crore or even much more than 300,000.
Yeah, maybe.
Right. Yeah, but that was in light vein. You see, most of the financial system in the world today works based on the interest. So there is a market for interest-based product, and they keep transactioning that. Ultimately, what happens that if the world is to grow, actual performance has to come from the real productivity. Whatever goods and services are produced, you can sell 100 rupees paper in 120 or 130, or you can, interest is more of an accounting profit, and Islamic banking is more of a real profit. Real profit is more stable than accounting profit, because once liabilities goes down, your assets are going to be affected. Your assets goes down, your liabilities are going to be affected, right? So interest is more of a notional income which people recognize at the end of the period. But that also depends, as long as the real income or real economy is performing well, that economy performs well. But if there is a problem in real economy, then interest system gets collapsed. In the last 10 years, at least 100 countries have faced banking crisis because of this. If there is any problem in the real economic sector, immediately, if there is a sneezing, there is the other side, there is a fever. So if the real economy is having a small problem, the financial economy is having big problem, because everything is based on this expectation, and interest income is now notional income, accounting income. But when it comes to Islamic banking, it is a real business. If it is performing well, everyone is sharing well. If it is not performing, everyone is sharing the risk also. So here the risk is shared, not the risk is shifted on other. Because how long you can go on shifting the risk? Somewhere it will fall. And that is the major difference when the whole financial system